Please welcome Thomas Jane Man. It's for you. There you go.
Don't let me forget this bag, because I will.
I will make sure you do not forget your bag.
Somebody left some blueberries back there, and I'm a blueberry fan.
So you know when you say stuff like that, when you go back to your table, you're going to be inundated with people bringing you blueberries.
Blueberries? Hey, I wouldn't say no.
Well, great. Number one, thanks for coming out and doing this.
Thank you. You know, I'm from, I grew up outside of Washington, D.C., so this is my area. These are my people. You know, it's really great. It's been great to be here. It's just super fun. Everybody's so polite and good people, you know, good, solid people. And I'm going to hop in the car later today and drive down to see my mom and dad, who are about 45 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. So I'm excited about that. Yeah, see the folks.
Well, thanks for doing this. I got some questions for you. One is pretty interesting, how your career started off, like going to India and for your first film. Can you tell us a little bit about that? That is pretty astounding.
Well, I did a high school play, and I decided that being an actor is going to be way better than whatever the hell the high school had plans for. And I told my mom that I no longer needed to go to high school because I already knew what I wanted to do with my life. And she did not take that very well, my parents, but I was pretty adamant about it. So a neighbor talked to my mom over the fence and said, you know, I work right next to this acting school in Bethesda, Maryland. So I started taking the train down there and going to see them. A guy named Ralph Tabakin, who had done stage, and he'd done radio, and he'd done vaudeville back in the day. He was an old guy in the 80s. And Ralph is actually in Barry Levinson's films. Somewhere you'll see, like in Diner, he's the TV salesman. You know, in Wag the Dog, he does a television commercial briefly. Like Barry always found a place for Ralph, and so he was an actor, and so Ralph taught me the basics and then gave me the confidence to say, he said, you know, Tom, you could do this. You could be an actor. And I was sweeping floors at Heckinger's. Do they have Heckinger's in? Not anymore. So, we had a payphone for the employees, and Ralph had that number. He called me on that payphone. He said, Tom, there's these Indians, and they're making a movie. And I said, you mean like cowboys and Indians? He goes, nah, India with the dot. He goes, you go down there and audition. They're looking for they're looking for a white kid to star in this Romeo and Juliet style Bollywood film where a young white boy falls in love with an Indian girl, and their parents hate each other, and so they run off together in this kind of road trip across America. And that's what we did. I got that part, and me and this small Indian crew with this gorgeous Indian movie star who hated my guts because I was just like a dirty white trash kind of boy, and she had like people painting her nails when she'd sit, you know, she was one of those kind of people where, you know, people were giving her tea, and she was slumming it in America to make this movie. But we drove all around the country, you know, we drove all the way to California, and we'd stop off in different places. They didn't put us up at hotels, you know, we would end up sleeping on the floor at a church somewhere. We'd sleep in we had a couple of RVs, and we had a couple of vans, and there was the only other white guy was the driver of one of the vans, and all the other Indian crew didn't even speak English, so it was a lonely road, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. And then they packed off, and they took me to India, where I lived there for 5 months. And that was like land. I'd never been out of the country. I've been to, my dad's from upstate New York, and my mother's family is from Alabama. So outside of New York and Alabama, I'd never been anywhere at 16 years old. So it was kind of like landing on another planet in India in the mid 1980s. It was incredible. The phone lines were so terrible that the Indians had to yell at each other over the phone. So a phone conversation kind of went like that over, and they were the food was like it like opened up new dimensions in my mouth that I didn't know existed. And the smells of the place, and the film I did was southern India. It was in Telugu, which is a southern Indian language. So where most people in the north were kind of more familiar with English people. The South, I used to get chased around by little kids who just wanted to touch me because I had blonde hair and white skin. And it changed my life, in more than one way. It also opened me up, so I realized that I was being conditioned to live as a American consumer who put money and stuff, at the top of the list of things to achieve in life. And India had it flipped around, where love, family, friendship was at the top, and everything else kind of followed from that. And that kind of blew my mind, that they had a whole different sort of value structure. That, and then the men would hold hands walking down the street, and they weren't gay; they were just friends. I was like, "How do you do that, man? Like, I could never do that." And it just kind of blew my mind in a whole bunch of different ways. And what a great gift, to travel and to see different human beings living on the planet. I think that's probably been the best gift of sort of doing what we do and filming in different areas and going to visit and meet different people.
How did that experience help you as an actor? I mean, that is pretty hardcore right off the bat. Mm-hmm. Traveling to a different country, being that young, how did that help you down the line as an actor, you think?
Well, it all just sort of opens up your brain, and it absolutely. I mean, look, we're trying to sort of, in a perfect world, we're reflecting the human experience. So the more you can absorb and the more you can know about the human experience, the better equipped you'll be.
Have you been back to India since?
I did. I have a friend that got married. This is a long time ago, but I was able to go to Kerala, which is on the coast. And so they live in more of a seaside sort of a lifestyle in India. And the lobsters were blue lobsters, yeah. They were delicious.
So I got to ask you portray a wide range of characters from Punisher to Joe Miller in The Expanse. What draws you to a role, and how do you decide which projects to take on?
I have to like the script, You look for a story that you can connect to, and then sometimes you need to pay the mortgage. So it's sort of, I think it's Robert Duvall who said, one for the condo and one for the art. And it's usually like 3 for the condo and one for the art. But that's the general idea.
So for Punisher, you originally turned it down. What changed your mind?
I turned it down twice. Yeah, they kept coming after me and I just didn't want. Wanted to be. I was a big comic book guy, and I had a thing against Marvel and DC for ruining comic books. Because all of the comic books are superhero stuff, and I was way more into crime, science fiction, horror, and underground, San Francisco underground comics, which I discovered when I was a kid. My mom, when we were young, we were poor, And so my mom, instead of going to IKEA to buy the furniture, she'd go to thrift stores and antique shops and get this beautiful furniture. And our house was always very well appointed by my mother. She was fantastic, you know. And so they live in a different house now, but when I go down there, it's like stepping back in time. Even the dishes are from old 1930s diners, and all the cabinets would be ripped out of some old house. And, you know, she did most of it herself. She's an amazing, amazing woman, and she was an artist in college, you know, and she liked to paint. So she had a great eye, and they're both avid readers. So they turned me on, gave me the gift of reading at an early age. But the way that she would sort of, you know, the atmosphere that she'd create. My friends, when I was a kid, were afraid to come over. They're like, I don't want to break anything. But that doesn't. Wait, remind me what you were saying.
Just what made you take it when they offered it?
Huh?
What made you take the role of Punisher this the third time?
So comic books. So that was when hanging out at the antique shops, I found the old dusty cardboard boxes full of comic books, and that's how I discovered the underground. I found a comic book called Corn Fed, and Corn Fed was by Kim Deitch, an amazing comic book artist who was just making his little underground comics in San Francisco. And that blew my mind, you know, just the possibilities of what you could do with 22 blank pages. So I had a thing against Marvel, but then they sent me some comics with Tim Bradstreet, his work on the cover. And Bradstreet's work, you know, I saw this sort of gritty, realistic version of what the Punisher could be, and that's when I said, okay, you know, this could really be something cool in my mind, you know. So that's
cool.
That's what got me to sort of understand the world, because I was not a reader of Marvel. I didn't follow the superhero stuff, you know. They kind of seem like soap operas in tights.
Exactly, because I grew up with underground comics as well, so I know exactly what you mean, like Zap comics and things of that nature.
Zap, yeah, that's a great one.
They were my brothers. I stole them. But they were my brothers.
Your brothers?
Yeah.
What other undergrounds did you read?
Actually, more of the Kim Deitch stuff, and we're here to talk about you. But okay. I want to know about how you prepare for a performance. I mean, some of the stuff you do is really emotional and intense, like The Mist. How do you prepare for a role?
Yeah, the Mist. That was a tough one. That day, sort of shooting the end of the movie, we were shooting in a wooded area, and the crew was always running around looking for me, and I was hiding in the woods, you know, trying to prepare for that scene. It's called technique, skill that you develop through training. You know, I can't stress that enough. You know, I think a lot of young actors today, not all of them, but a lot of them aren't going to do the training, because you're looking at acting and it just looks like a normal conversation, and you're like, I could do that. The guy's, you know, he's drinking coffee and talking to some girl, you know, and maybe slapping her around a little bit. Like, I can handle that. But then you get on stage and it's like this, and you're surrounded by a bunch of people, and there's lights and there's a camera in your face, and you're like, whoa. And I still have, you know, that still freaks me out. You know, I'm an introvert. I guess there's a lot of actors who are extroverts, and they're like, look at me, you know. And that's one kind of actor, and the other kind of actor is more introverted. You know, I like spending time with myself and a book. So going to work and being surrounded by, you know, 200 or 300 people every day is hard work for some people. So I've always struggled with that. You know, trying to find a sense of solitude in the midst of a crowd is what you're training yourself to do.
So like your early acting training, did a lot of that come into play later, or as you got more roles and you got more experience, you really fell into the role of an actor a little more comfortably?
I've never fell into the role a little more comfortably. You know, it's always been a real challenge for me, and you have to rely on skill. You know.
Are there any actors that kind of were an inspiration to you?
Growing up, man, when I discovered, my dad brought home one of the first VHSs. It had a wood paneling on top of it. That's how old it was. It was huge, and the thing, you hit the button and the thing came up off the top, and you slid the tape in and you pushed it down. And I think the first movie he brought home was 2001: A Space Odyssey. And just like that was a game changer for kids in the 80s. It was just a total game changer. And then the video store, and that just became a ritual, a family ritual. And the TV was the size of one of these speakers, and everybody's gathered around it. And it was the greatest. It was the greatest thing. We didn't even have speakers. That was just like regular TV sound, whatever came out of that little box. And that's how I saw Rebel Without a Cause for the first time. And that blew my mind, and that whole style of acting, that 1950s actor studio style is what really turned me on, So I got into Montgomery Clift, I got into Rod Steiger, and all the old Eli Wallach and just all the old studio actors is what really Brando and all those people, and that sent me down the rabbit hole of I guess in the kind of style, and then but times change, the 70s came, Jaws came out, and the people turned away a little bit from the more internal taxi driver type stories, and then we paved the way for the Marvel films, and so I'm interested to see what's going to happen now with AI, when just like the spectacle you can find that anywhere now. Some kid, one of you kids later today is going to create some brilliant Star Wars opening on his phone. So I'm thinking maybe we will turn more toward a kind of we want to see real people again. Maybe we'll want to see more John Cassavetes style dramas, where we can sort of try to connect to our humanity, and maybe that'll open the way to do more movies like that, which I think would be really terrific. We'll see what happens. Either that, or we're all going to turn into AI zombie overlord, minions or something. I don't know.
So you worked a bunch of different genres: sci-fi, horror, everything. Do you have a favorite genre that you kind of?
I love sci-fi. Yeah, I've always loved science fiction. I mean, that's my jam. And I would love to do a really good horror film, but man, are they hard to find. They're out there, but finding a really great story that scares the crap out of you is that would be great. I keep looking. I haven't found one yet.
Do you have a particular filmmaker that you kind of are drawn to, aside from Kubrick?
A kind of filmmaker. Well, the Ridley Scotts of the world, that certainly is top notch for me. Fincher, that style. Fincher is a little more on the Kubrick side. He's a little colder. It's a little more objective. And then you get other filmmakers who are more internal. I guess the master is Spielberg. I can't wait for this disclosure film, this alien film to come out. You guys like aliens? Yeah. I'm into aliens. I like that. So I got into UFOs about 15 years ago, and it's been so great to just see how these two worlds are going to kind of colliding. where we might actually get some answers here in the next couple of years, you know, and that's fascinating to me. I think that there's a world where we can start merging this sci-fi element, but bring it down to earth, and tell some of these stories, some of these old UFO stories, you know, and start to make movies out of them. I think that's going to happen, and people are going to look at that stuff in a new way relatively soon.
We're going to get some questions from the audience, but I have a question for you. Do you do any writing?
Oh yeah, I'm always writing. I'm actually working on a book about UFOs right now. Well, it's more about aliens. Who's flying these damn UFOs? Where do they come from? Why are they here? What do they want? How long have they been here? What's their technology like? What do they know that we don't know? You know, that's sort of a window into the future. If these aliens have figured out how to visit planet Earth, and they've survived as a civilization long enough to be able to use that technology, then how did they do it, and what can we learn from them that's going to help us become a better civilization and survive and thrive? You know, they must have had some sort of technological AI era, and one of the great questions is AI an invention or a discovery? And I think that a lot of these questions can start to be answered if we take seriously the fact that other civilizations have figured out how to leave their planet and visit us. And we're not the only ones, you know. We're probably just one stop on their summer vacation.
Good point. Let's get some questions from the audience, please. And by the way, thanks for doing this.
Oh, thank you.
And you'll be headed back to your table after we're done, so if you didn't have time for a question or just want to hang out, I know I'd want to hang out. But needless to say, Raise your hand, got a question, and Carrie will come around.
Hi, Thomas. Thank you for coming. So as a fan of science fiction, you know that anything can be reasoned in a script logically. So considering one for the condo, one for the art, if they came calling, would you consider coming back as either the Punisher or as Miller?
Oh, yeah. I would love to do a Miller sort of a mini-series or something, you know? Like something that focused more on that blend of noir, detective, sci-fi. That's what really sold me on The Expanse, and I had such a great time with those guys. We had a unique crew. It was the kind of situation where somehow everything came together in a way that the crew bonded in a way that I've never seen before, so that when we would get re-upped for another season, the crew, whatever job they were on, they'd drop that and they'd come back to work with us. And that happened every year. So that was a terrific creative team. It was a great story, and we had a great crew. And so, yeah, to revisit that would be really fun. And of course, you know, the Punisher, Jesus, man, I'm going to the gym for 3 months and doing all that. It'd have to be a great story, you know? If it was a great story, you show up and do it. I mean, that's the way I look at it. You know, if somebody has a great story to tell, then my job, and I have something to contribute, then my job is to show up and do the work and give it 110%. So really, yes. Provided that you have a great story to tell, you know, and that's it's always an honor to serve in a vision that people that you connect with, that we connect with.
We have a question way in the back.
Hello, I have a two-part question for you.
Okay.
What was your experience like on the movie Deep Blue Sea, and are you or were you afraid of sharks?
That's great. Oh boy, you know, when we we were too young to see Jaws. My poor sister was literally, I think she was 4 or 5, and she wouldn't sit down on a toilet after we saw Jaws because water, you know. Yeah, I mean, it really hit something in that reptile brain, and it scared everybody. I mean, I think sharks are endangered today because of Jaws. And we just have, you know, we have an innate fear of sharks, but no, sharks are not, you know, more people die of bee stings than they do from getting eaten by a shark. It happens, you know, and it's the stuff of nightmares. I mean, swimming around, I mean, I can't remember. I was probably, before Jaws, I was too young to even realize that you could get eaten by a shark. And after Jaws, it's like all that's on your mind when we went to the beach for a while. But I, you know, outgrew that. And the truth is, Deep Blue Sea and learning about sharks and stuff just gave me a great respect for nature. I learned how to scuba dive for that movie, so I had to get certified. And that was the greatest gift that anybody's given me, you know, was being able to sort of visit subterranean worlds all over the world, you know. So wherever I go around the world, if there's good diving there, I do it because the experience is just so overwhelmingly beautiful. So so what it's done, Deep Blue Sea, is deeply increased my appreciation for nature and sharks.
Over to that side.
Hi. So what kind of martial arts have you trained for the Punisher, and if you have any martial art background?
Well, I think I think I made it to brown belt, but I was 11. I took karate. Yeah, you know, it was the 70s. Everybody took karate. You had to take karate as a kid. And then the training was with the Navy SEALs. So all the stuff they learn, they have a hodgepodge of different things that they'll pick up and incorporate into their techniques. And different people specialize in different things. So the guys who were training me were just giving me the best of what they were great at, and working with the stunt coordinator and stuff like that. But what a fantastic discipline. Highly recommend everybody to learn some form of the martial arts, because it's a game changer as far as your mind and your body and how they connect.
To the back.
Hi.
Yep.
Hi. So you fought sharks in Deep Blue Sea. Now, who will the Punisher kill a predator?
Will the Punisher kill a predator? I don't know. It depends on, you know, depends on what he's wearing. What has he got? What's he got up his sleeve? You know, I mean, hopefully you'll be smart enough to never get in a situation where you have to fight a predator. I honestly, you know, it would be tough for a human to beat a predator if they had to, you know, if they had to kind of go at each other in the jungle. I don't know. What kind of question is that?
Down front.
I'm kidding.
Right down front.
If you didn't portray the Punisher, which Marvel Comics character would you rather portray?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have no idea. I honestly, I mean, I know that there's a lot of really great Marvel characters, and I appreciate the creativity that goes into creating the characters, but I personally just don't know, you know. But I would probably pick some obscure Marvel character that only showed up in in one 6-issue sort of series from 1982 or something like that, and then disappeared. I like finding those kind of characters that have the spark of genius in them, but then are underserved and underused, and then find out how you can kind of weave a new story around one of those characters would be really fun. You know, that is a cool thing about the Marvel universe, is all these creative brains have sort of swirled together in this fantasy stew, this universe of people. So Daredevil.
Hi, Thomas. Big fan from Punisher and the show Hung, which I know hasn't been brought up.
Thank you.
So my questions, it's kind of a three-part, was Hung for the art or for the condo? Being an introvert, how was it playing that role, and what was your experience doing that role?
Well, those are all great questions. Yeah, thank you. That's great. Yeah. Being an introvert, I spent more time naked on set than I did in my own home, making that show, and that was wild. You know, it was nothing like the first time. You know, when you're first shooting the film, and you have to be on set, and you're like, okay, now this day, most of the day, you're naked and you're filming some scene with this, you know, actress that you've never met before, and I think humor helped a lot. And I knew that as the lead of the show, I had to sort of own it, and so I did. You know, I would just stand around butt naked on set and make jokes, and try to. I learned pretty quickly that my job was to try to make the actress feel comfortable, because she is way more worried about the way she looks and her body on film and all that stuff than I am. So I put my focus on the other actor and tried to, you know, whatever she needed to sort of make her feel safe and comfortable, so that she could do the work that she came there to do. You know, we love acting, and we love to try to find the truth of the character and the scene, and that's what you want to do. You don't want to be worried about what people are thinking about your nipples and stuff like that. So that helped me a lot as an introvert. You know, I could instantly relate to the challenges of being a young naked actress. And that helped. And it was definitely for the art. I loved that script. I hated the title. I'm like, come on, guys, can we change this damn title? Is there anything else you can think of that might be another title that you could use? But I did love the story. The script was great. It was written by a husband and wife team. And the characters came together, you know, and I thought all the actors were great. I loved working on that show. That was definitely one for the art. And I'm so happy that you enjoyed it.
Got time for 2 more questions?
Okay.
Or 3.
Okay. Hi, Thomas. First, I want to thank you for being here and doing this for us. I always wondered, have you ever considered to writing a memoir? My first question. And one of my first characters was Malone, Givemel Malone, your movies, yeah. I always wanted to see a sequel for the film. Have you ever thought of this? Just wanted to ask.
We had to see. So he's asking about Give 'Em Hell Malone, which is a great poster, by the way. Also designed by Tim Bradstreet. Bradstreet designed the poster for Give 'Em Hell Malone. I loved that poster. That was a really fun one. That was one where I got to work with the writer, and we got to develop the script, and I started learning learning the ropes of producing, so that was a special film for me. You know, I have a new company now called Renegade Entertainment. So we just did a show. We did a show called Troppo for Amazon. We're doing another one for MGM, and we've got another one set up, and we did a Western that was just #1 on Netflix called Murder at Yellowstone City. Good Western, if anyone hasn't seen it. So Give 'Em Hell Malone kind of launched me in the direction of starting to learn how to produce. We did have a sequel, and that the company, Richard Rionda's company, you know, we had trouble getting it together because that whole market of the DVD era, that world kind of disappeared with streaming. So that business model of how you could make a independent movie at a lower budget and then make money through the sales of the DVD in the foreign, all that kind of is gone away. So now we're trying to figure out what the new model could be to make movies like Give 'Em Hell Malone. And I didn't catch the first part of your question.
I was wondering, have you ever thought writing a memoir to sharing your experiences like a memoir?
A memoir? You're asking me about a memoir? Oh my God, you don't want to read my memoir, pal. I'm going to write it in my own language. First I'm going to make up my own language and then I'll write it. Thank you.
Yes.
Hey, Thomas, I'm glad you brought this up earlier so I don't sound like so much of a weirdo. I'll ask you 2 questions.
Oh, you still sound like a weirdo,
Yeah,
but go
yeah.
ahead.
You can pick which one you want to answer. So, given the UFO and UAP, if there was a first contact, which one of your characters do you think would be best equipped to deal with that? Or you could answer, personally, are you leaning towards it being more of a interdimensional thing or a outer space type of thing? So do you think they're here, or do you think they're coming from afar?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So there's sort of 3 main, there's a few different sort of theories about who these aliens are. One is that they're crypto-terrestrials, right? So they've been here hiding out on our planet for as long or longer than human beings have been around. The other is that they're actually from other planets, and they flew in aluminum tubes across deep space to get here. And then there's the interdimensional hypothesis, which is they're sort of from, we don't even know what another dimension is, but the idea being that they may be from some other kind of density or something that's not the 3-dimensional physical world, so from some other realm, you could say, and that's sort of the interdimensional hypothesis. I think the answer is probably yes to all 3. I think that there are civilizations that have developed on other planets. The universe is just far too big, and there's just way too many possibilities for that not to be the case. The crypto-terrestrial thing, if they are here, then they're probably not from here. Because if they were from here, like, why are you hiding out in a little cave or under the water, when we have this big, beautiful planet for you guys to live on, and they don't respect us that much. The real estate up here is great. So I haven't figured out why but other civilizations may have created bases here under the water, inside of mountains, and just those would be little sort of base station. So wherever you're coming from, you land. Sort of like a big sort of resort / airport where different civilizations can come in and out of and hang out, and they're in a relatively safe space. I think we're going to be astonished at how many different types of species are visiting our planet when that happens. And as far as characters, I mean, I would think Miller would probably be the best equipped, because at least he's got the space part down. These are the questions that keep me up at night. Who are they? Where are they from? What are they doing here? What do they want? And am I ever gonna have sex with an alien? Sorry. Okay.
I guess we can leave it at that.
Yeah. Good talk. Good talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thomas Jane, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, guys.
Headed back to his table. You want to hang out.
Yeah, I'm headed back to the table, so you guys want to have any more questions or want to stop by, come on by.
Please do.
Thank you, guys.
Once more,
Thank you.
Thomas Jane.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.